Hello. It's been so long since I have done a live or a video or just being in the space of service to so many. I first of all want to say thank you. Thank you for all the people who have been sending me DMs, messages, emails, text messages, phone calls, who have gone to the extremes, like even reaching out to my mother. I just want to say thank you. I hear you. I appreciate you. And I feel the love. I just really wanted to take that moment to start this video off by just saying thank you. And I also want to thank the people who have been reaching out to me. As we all, if you look on our social media timelines, just what's going on in the world, unfortunately, we all are in a season where we have experienced death or someone that is very close to us have experienced a loved one that has left here, transition, okay? And with that experience, it has really sparked up conversations for a lot of people, especially the millennial and Gen Z. We have either experienced people that is our age, or we have experienced like our parents or our grandparents passing away. And for a lot of us, this is our first time ever being in a position of handling arrangements. So many questions have come up, from what I'm supposed to do to who do I need to call, what is important, what is not important, and just the realization of what funeral planning looks like in that time. And for a lot of people, they were not prepared. And I hate that. That has always been a thing. If you really genuinely know me, you know I always like to educate our community on planning and what does that look like. I think that a lot of us, as you all know, that we plan for everything else. However, we do not plan for the inevitable. Okay, so with that being said, we are here. I have been getting messages just for some of those people. I'm not gonna call out any names, but for those who I've been able to help during that transition, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for just thinking of me when you had those type of questions. And for those who I have not been able to help, but I have seen your messages or I've received your calls and I have not been able to reach back out to you, I just want to say thank you for thinking of me. During that time, I hate that I was not in a position to be able to help you during that most challenging time. I hope that these videos that I am putting out, or if I am near you soon, you are able to attend so you can obtain the information, just the basic knowledge of what that looks like and how to move forward in that time. Whew. With all of that, you guys, we are here, okay? So for whoever's new here, hey, what's up? I am Bree. I am a Gupton Jones alumni, meaning I graduated from mortuary school, mortuary science. That's what my degree is in. I have 11 years of experience in funeral service. I cannot believe it, okay, guys? My family does not own a funeral home or anything like that. That would be a different video. I have had some amazing women kind of reach out to me like, hey, I have questions. I want to get an inch. Just hold on. I'm gonna get that, I promise. But I have experience oh, by the way, I am a licensed funeral director. I am a cremation specialist, grief coach, death doula. I cannot wait to talk about that segment. And I have been in amazing organizations that have introduced me to what we call pre-planning, pre-need, and also working with pet services, cemetery, and working along beside some amazing owners and some that just really taught me the business. If it was good or bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. I appreciate the experience. But we are here. And with that, I think that I have just enough knowledge to help you all along this journey. So our first question is, what is the average funeral cost? You guys, I hate to break it to you, right? It's not a cookie cutter answer. I can literally give you an average of what I think it is. I'm going to kind of give you some numbers of what the research that I found. But most of you all who know me know I have been in the position of helping funeral homes and running funeral homes and just consulting other funeral homes and just traveling the United States and working with other owners and just kind of seeing what the market is. So according to US Today, they say it's $7,848. Now, what they did not say, they did not just say, oh, that's the basic funeral and all that. They did a breakdown. They did do a breakdown of a traditional funeral plus the cremation. I am going to actually give you what I think the number is. So the average funeral price, I would say, is $9,000 to $10,000. That is realistic. That is just a funeral home. And I do want to stress that is standard size. I am making this video because unfortunately I have had people that I've even had families I met with, they were shocked when you go in, you sit down with them and you express to them, hey, your loved one is oversized. What is oversized? Now, most of you all know me. I'm always authentically myself. And I want to say, you've been dressing Junebug and Husky since he was a baby. Okay? Sarah has always been a thick girl. That's what a lot of us like to say. Oh, she thick boning and all this other stuff. And Junebug left Husky and went into the big and tall section. Okay? So Junebug did not lose weight or anything like that. And I'm not knocking Junebug at all. Okay? But the reality of the situation is, in order to have the proper casket, Junebug will fall in what we call oversized. Same thing for Sarah. Sarah always been a thick girl. She's always been heavy up in this area. That's what we like to say. Oh, she just had, come on. So, unfortunately, through that process, the funeral director is going to come back in and tell you, oh, well, your loved one needs an oversized casket. And so that price that I just gave you, that is why I said standard. I would say the average oversized cost in today's society is anywhere between $13,000 to $15,000. And please be mindful, I am giving you traditional pricing, meaning service followed by service followed by a burial. Service followed by a cremation is not going to be in too much of a difference. Besides, you are a lot of times going to have to purchase a wood casket or a cremation unit, and you're going to have to pay an additional fee far as weight and permits and all of this stuff when you're going to cremation RAM. I do want to discuss about cremation and pricing. However, I am not going to do it this video. I will have a different video where it's strictly about cremation services, cremation pricing, what is needed and so forth. That'll be a different video. But as far as today, I am kind of hitting on just a traditional service. So that's a traditional followed by a burial. So again, the average price I would say for a traditional service is $9,000 to $10,000 for a standard size person. That is the funeral home only price. And I am also going to say $13,000 to $15,000 for the average oversized. Give or take. Please do not come and be like, well, I paid this or I paid that. It's an average, okay? So that means it has the ability to be a little more or it has the ability to be a little less, okay? So either or, the average price in the States, that is where we're looking at as far as in pricing. Now, do I feel like that's within reason? I absolutely feel like it's within reason. There's a lot of things that kind of go into play. When we're considering prices, you have your basic services for funeral director and staff, you have your casket, you have your embalming, you have your dressing and casket and cosmetics, and there's a whole lot that goes on in the back before you all even see your loved one, okay? So that costs. It costs to have the facility open, it costs to have the lights on, it costs to have the service at the funeral home or at a church. We need there's so many things that go into play. I think for a lot of us, we're still in the 1980s, 1990s, and as my generation like to say, the 99s and the 2000s, and that's not the reality of what is really going on. Just like everything else, the cost of inflation has also spread to all aspects of life, okay? And just because life is life, and for all of us, death is also going to happen for all of us, okay? And so unfortunately, the cost had to go up because the demand and different things that kind of go into play with that, okay? Now, Bree, why do you say 9 to 10,000? That's only the funeral home? Because that is only the funeral home cost. Cemetery is a different entity. Cemetery has a different cost. So if I was to include it, all depends on where you locate it. When you're thinking about metropolitan areas, if I just had to throw out some cities, you're talking about that San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Orlando. I'm not even gonna go up north. Up north prices are totally different than in the South. But Midwest is not, I'm not going to get much in the Midwest because burials and things like that is a lot different in those areas, which we'll get into that segment about green burials and cremation and all of that. But the South, we still very much so still are very traditional. But as far as like the average funeral cost throughout the states, we're at 9 to 10,000 for a standard size. Okay. Oversized, we're at about 13 to 15,000. Now, if we're to include the cemetery, we're about 5 to 7,000, depending on the area. If you're in a much smaller town, I've seen $1,000 for a burial, just the space. Some areas it's 500, 750. It all depends on the community. But when I am speaking of those prices, I am talking about like the country. I'm talking about where there is no, there's nothing but a Dollar General and a gas station in those areas. They may have a Walmart that's like 8 miles or 10 miles away. But in those smaller communities, obviously pricing is still, I feel like, within reason for that community. But when you're in a larger city, you're anywhere between 5 to 7,000 for a burial, okay? Now, that does not include everything that you need. This is not that video where I would go in details about the cemetery. That'll be a different segment of what that looks like. But we are just talking about the average cost. So I hope that was very informative. I hope I was able to kind of give you somewhat of an idea of what the average cost. Now, I know some would say, well, hold on, Bree, before you go, how are we to pay for these services? I got life insurance, and my life insurance, which that has come up in questioning, many times recently. I have a $10,000 life insurance policy, and the funeral home bill is $15,000. What does that mean? That means you owe them people $5,000 additional. That's exactly what that means. And actually, it may be a little more than that because you got an insurance processing fee tacked on to that. And I am going to just say that I know for a lot of us, we are we're going to use insurance, life insurance to pay for the funeral and so forth. And the reality for most of us, we do not have enough. Okay. We do not have enough insurance to cover what today rates are. Secondly, do I think that will the prices ever go down? I do not think that prices will ever go down. You would have people that come into your market funeral homes that will open, that would do, I hate to say it like this, but they'll come in and they'll kind of lowball all the other funeral homes, and they're going to offer a different price because they're new in town. They're trying to get their clientele. They're trying to, really get into that community. And so they will offer very low pricing. I always like to say you have to be very careful with those type of firms that come in and they're very low, because you get exactly what you pay for. That is not to throw shade at any particular funeral home. That is just the reality of the situation. However, they are firms that will offer like package pricing, right? And their package pricing is like a spectrum. You have like their low package. This is literally just for the people who do not have, but we are offering you a service. It's going to be something a lot of times during the week, earlier in the week. It's not going to be like a Monday or a Friday. It's going to be something like during the middle of the week. It'll be like some weird time. Well, people will feel like, oh, that's a weird time. But that funeral home is helping you. Then you have more of a midpoint. Like this is like, okay, this is kind of what I was expecting. And then you have more of what we consider today's traditional package pricing. A lot of times that's where all your bells and whistles, okay? So I always look at it as the good, better, or best package. Now, when we're kind of going into the realm of oversized and that spectrum, a lot of times pricing looks a lot different. They don't, a lot of times don't have package pricing because the caskets are way more than a standard casket. So you have to pay for the casket. That's why you got a price increase, and then you kind of almost a la carte what you're wanting. Some funeral homes will work with you. They'll go with the highest package price and then give you the difference of what the casket. Do not quote me on that. That is not every funeral home. Every funeral home will not do that, okay? I am saying what some funeral homes will do. Some funeral homes will work with you. However, you're still at the price point of anywhere between $13,000 to $15,000. Now, I also want to stress to you guys that that pricing is for local pickup. Meaning your loved one passed away locally, not in a different state, not they was at a different funeral home and now they coming to your funeral home. That does not include none of that, okay? There is a charge for everything. I think for some people, they just shocked like, oh, well, you know, first of all, the family called that other funeral home, okay? And we understand that there are things that happen in the family and you got children and spouses and people who ain't been there and all of that. And the reality is whatever it is, okay? So if Susan was married, but Susan's husband ain't been in the picture, and Susan's sisters and kids called this other funeral home, and then the husband got whiffed that Susan is at a funeral home that he don't want her to be at, and I don't care, they been exchanged for 20, 30 years. The husband still has the right, okay? So the husband gonna come in and say, hey, I didn't call y'all. So guess what? Now the family has a bill over there. Y'all need to pay that bill, okay? And then you're gonna have a bill at the new funeral home. Now, I have seen instances, and this is not this type of video to go in details about family dynamic and all of that. I can do that for another video. But you have two bills, okay? So you have to pay, you need to definitely pay that other funeral home, okay? A lot of funeral homes will not go pick up until you take care of that funeral home bill, because if you won't pay them, I know you won't pay us. Now, I know some funeral homes that don't care about that. They'll come pick it up and all of this craziness, and that's not all of us. That's just some of us that are out there. But here to say, you got to pay that funeral home and you have a new bill at this new funeral home. Now, whatever that charge is, that funeral home is going to charge that family that, and then whatever new charges, that funeral home is going to charge that. Again, a lot of times it's not going to fall up under their average price, package price, because you have a lot of alterations that kind of came into play, and the funeral home has the right to do what we call a la carte, where they charge you for every individual thing. Not every funeral home offer package pricing. That is okay. That does not mean they're scamming you or anything like that. They just choose to run their funeral home in that way. Now, I have had questions. Bree, are you for package pricing? I am for package pricing. I feel like not everyone knows what is required to have a funeral service. And so if I give you the basics, right? So what are the basics? And I know that may sound so elementary, but what is the basic for some is not basics for others. So for instance, what I mean by that, for some, flowers is considered a basic, but not for everyone. So most packages do not offer flowers in that package. Most packages may not offer programs, because not everybody wants programs, or obituaries, some of us like to say. So your basics is going to typically be your basic services, embalming, dressing and casketing. They may throw a casket in there. Visitation, to go to the church, or chapel, hearse. That's pretty much your basics. Flowers, programs, ministers, death certificates, police escort, all that you don't have to have that to have a service. Okay, so now if you're going in procession and all of that, I'm not gonna get into all of that. I always am pro police escorts. But yeah, outside of that, I think I hit on all the pricing. We're going to actually have a couple of other videos where I'm talking about cremation, talking about the cemetery, talking about family dynamic, what does that look like, and can I move forward because this person has not been in the picture in years and all of that, and what are the laws and all of that. We'll get into that. I want to stress that these videos are for educational purposes only. What happens in one state does not always apply in other states. I am going to say Texas is a great state. Texas laws are a lot different than Georgia laws. Some states recognize common law marriage. Other states do not recognize common law marriage. So with that being said, I hope I was able to answer your questions, and I will talk to you on the next video.